people who want to improve schools and who emphasize only math and science and reading want too little out of education, not too much.
You know, if you can just see what happens to kids, how they come alive when they're involved with it, how they're able to, through the arts, step into an adult world.
The world of art is out there. It's not only in museums, it's in the world that we live in every day.
Hi, I'm Howard Hesseman, probably better known to most of you from television's Head of the Class. I play a history teacher who, each week, helps gifted children deal with their life problems. Now, you know as well as I do that it's not the real world. Life's problems don't get solved in 30 minutes. And not all children are gifted. But all children are special. And the role of education is to help them realize that and their full potential. But art in the classroom, it's simply just a nice break from the serious subjects like math, history, science. Or is it more than that?
The great contribution of the arts is, on the one hand, to enable youngsters to get a sense of historical continuity and to secure the kinds of meanings that works of art make possible. And on the other hand, to exercise those forms of thinking that practice and develop the capacities of the mind. The arts have these special contributions to make, these unique contributions, and that's why they ought to be a part of the general education of every child, not only for the talented or those who have special interests or gifts, but for every child.
When you want a student to feel good about himself, he has to feel some accomplishment and not be criticized whether he did good, bad, it was right or wrong. And in art, it is his thoughts, his thinking, and the creativity that he learns through an art program that gives him that self-esteem and the critical thinking skills.
I had a boy that just transferred to English. It was his first year in a non-bilingual classroom. And we were going to the Getty Museum on a field trip. So we ended up going with another classroom that had not done any art education. He ends up sitting next to the other teacher on the bus. And he's sitting there, and she tells me this later on in the faculty room, that he said, "Well, what do you like better, Cubism or Impressionism?" And the teacher said, "Becky," I said the only thing I knew. I said, "I really like Van Gogh." And he goes, "What do you like better, His Starry Night or his self-portrait?" And she said, I didn't know what to say. I mean, I had to say, there's a problem at the back of the bus, and I'm going to go take care of it.
People come to me, parents come to me and say, "What are you doing? I don't want my kid learning art. I want my kid to learn reading, spelling, language. Well, these are the things he has to have to survive in the world." And I don't argue with people anymore. I take them into the classroom and let them see a lesson.
There are organic shapes instead of geometric.
How do you know that?
Well, because if those are triangles and circles, and if those are not triangles or circles or squares or rectangles, they don't look like any of them, so they have to be something else, so they're organic shapes.
Good answer. What did we do with water? Do you remember?
We spilled it.
We spilled the water, and then what did we do?
We traced it with chalk.
We traced it with chalk, and when the water disappeared, what did we end up with? What kind of a shape?
Organic shape.
A beautiful organic shape.
What is this? We decided that this was geometric.
Why did you decide that?
Because it has squares. Organic. It's geometric. It goes like curvy all over. Because it has more curvy lines. This is both because both moons are round circles, and the little birds that are in there are organic.
So we know something about shape. We know about geometric shapes and organic shapes. And we know some things about line. So I'm going to pick up a piece that we call The White Dot by Wassily Kandinsky. And he used lots of pretty colors and bright colors. Just why do you think he might have put red here, and then here, and then here? Do you remember, Benjamin?
So it can balance the picture.
Okay, can you take your finger and show us how that works? Why don't you show how he used black to balance the color? Show us how he used black. He put it there. Good, and he brought it all the way around there. And then he came over here. He brought it way back up to the white dot. Perfect.
Is this artwork representational or non-representational?
It may not have like a human being body or a human being's face, or it may not represent an animal or anything, but it still represents color because he has a lot of color in it.
Color is just color.
I disagree.
I disagree too.
I disagree because, see, it doesn't represent anything. It's just lines.
Just lines because it has color doesn't mean it represents color.
Look, it doesn't have any object or any shape. I know, but every painting that does have color usually has something else besides the color that represents something.
This is just lines. This is like weird shapes. It's not like weird things outlined in black somewhere.
Okay, now look. In order for it to represent something, it has to have some kind of shape
It doesn't
or
look
flower
like
or
anything.
something. Yeah. Okay.
It's just lines.
In terms of developing language skills, I'm always impressed with the vocabulary that the children are using.
To criticize and look at art pieces, to actually be involved in a production and to see the beauty of art, those are all components as a discipline that don't make it just a soft subject. Just like any other discipline, it shouldn't be just taught hit or miss. And so there should be some sequence that the students follow and then begin to build on their skills from year to year.
I think that art education influences children in terms of leadership because it's the one place where they are an active participant.
You see them start taking risks. We don't constrict them with these techniques. We expand them.
So, art education is more than a nice break in the day. It expands into other disciplines, and there's an effective way to teach it. But I hear your cry. Is there a real-world payoff here? I mean, if you're a parent, you no doubt have a few of these around the kitchen. It's like a homegrown industry that's spreading like wildfire. ADD, appliance door decor. Throw in a couple of fruit magnets and you're in business. I know, you're wondering, why should my kids spend more time in school drawing weird stuff that ends up on the refrigerator when they should be learning things that'll help them put groceries inside the refrigerator?
In order to get a good job, you have to be able to make judgments. You have to have confidence in yourself. And it's a world in which you have to be flexible and you have to, I guess, have some understanding of the larger culture. I think that's one of the major things that it does for children.
In the companies that I've been identified with and in the public service that I did in Washington for many years, I often judged the caliber of the manager, and at times these were very, very important people, by their breadth, by their perspective. And I felt that if a person had a genuine understanding of more than just a technical kind of problem that was in front of him, that or her, that that person was by far the better person.
We are very much concerned about competing with Korea and with Japan and other nations. We need to be able to produce objects that will be in demand not only in the United States, but throughout the world. We cannot do this unless we have designers, we have people who can conceptualize at a level of imagination and with a level of sensibility that will make it possible to produce those products and have a public that wants them.
Art isn't simply a link to the past. It allows our children to create a vision for the future. And I think it's important to ask ourselves, what kind of legacy are we leaving our children? What can we do to expose them to the very best our civilization has to offer? And that's where art education comes in. And I think it's well worth supporting. But don't take my word for it. Ask anyone involved in art education, and they'll tell you, art is indeed for life.
I think the future that we have in this country is going to be shaped by the kind of places we create for kids during the course of their development. And I think that that place has to provide place for the arts.